we've been going through extreme ownership, and we're about halfway through, or after this episode, we'll be at halfway through. And today's chapter is about simple, which we kind of talked about at the beginning. And I will be blunt. This is my favorite chapter of the entire book. I think it is highly, highly undervalued by everybody. Uh, I don't think people fully understand how important it is and how powerful of a tool it is.
Boring. I think there should have been a 2K plan. I think it should have been a 15K plan.
Yeah, sure, fine, okay.
So what if you want to come back with two people?
You know. uh,
Oh gosh, I'm going to sidetrack you already. Have you seen what was that? The Monsters Incorporated. Have you seen when they that set the I think it was the second one where they had to do the race to win the little monsters challenge
no,
and they're throwing the sticky bombs at them?
I don't remember it. It's been too long ago.
Okay, so there's it is yeah, it probably dates me. But there's this old movie called Monsters Incorporated, I think.
Yeah, it's Pixar.
And they're Pixar. It's Pixar, so it's forever. So at least for old people. So
Except some of their new stuff is just crap.
they got bought out or something. They traded their soul for something.
They have a very interesting business story that we can get into at some point, but go on. Oh, it's a cool case study. It's really interesting.
But I'm laughing because they had to race as a team, and the little guy with the big eye and the big monster, the big fuzzy one, they're racing it out between each other, and they totally left their team behind. And they didn't even listen to the rules to realize the team had to go together. They're so busy fighting with each other. Nothing to do with keep it simple, but it just comes to mind.
Well, it actually is kind of interesting because the anecdote that they start the chapter off with is basically I don't quite remember all of the details. You might be able to pick up a bunch of them. We Jocko is and Leif are in Ramadi as normal. Like all of their stories are pretty much from Ramadi, most of them. And one of the things that they happens is this young officer comes, and he's not a Navy SEAL officer. He's a conventional officer, if I remember correctly.
I thought he was a SEAL officer, but I might be wrong.
Well, maybe let me grab my book and we can double check.
While you're grabbing the book, I'll do a little bit of background. So this young mid officer was trying to he hadn't gone through combat yet, so but he had trained some Iraqi soldiers and he had his crew of SEALs and he was gun ho, right? So he planned to do a 2K patrol, which he thought was okay. 2K, this is nothing. But he was about to go through 5 different command zones with different radio frequencies, different support, different requirements. And these guys are already where they're trying to project their power. And the bad guys have essentially gotten wind of that, know what's going on, and are really tactically uh, combating people. So the young officer lieutenant wanted to just in his mind just a quick 2 kilometer patrol, right, where he's just going to show his presence and go through. He didn't think he's probably going to get lit up, and I think I can leave it to the big man from here.
Yeah, he was an Army officer. Yeah, but he did have a SEAL contingent with him. Where'd you leave off?
So he was planning to do a 2K, and I didn't get into any details from there.
So yes, and he had this really long route drafted up, and it was complicated as heck, and it was yeah, it was complicated. And as Phil pointed out, it went through multiple zones and stuff, and I don't remember. I think it was Yeah, Jocko. Jocko kind of approached him and was like, dude, this is complicated. Stop what you're doing." And, and he was incredulous. He was just out there like, "Oh, come on. It's not that bad. We can do it. We can do this in like what he was saying something like it was like we could do this in an hour or something stupid like that." And
Well, it's 2K. You can do this in a 20-minute jog, like 20-minute walk.
yeah, but it being a patrol, I mean, I'm sure they want to like walk around and look at things and stuff. But anyway, like it's very quick. All things considered. But Jocko was sitting there like, no, you've never been here. You don't know what you're doing. So listen to me and make it simpler. Like cut it down. I think he says uh American, yeah, this is the funny part. Speaking of, the route that he planned went through multiple battle spaces owned by many different American units, to include two U.S. Army companies, an Army battalion, and a U.S. Marine Corps company. And I'm just like, I'm reading these, and I was just like, this dude.
Yeah, I'm imagining 5 different zones, all different radio frequencies.
Yes.
Sure, a sniper can cover 20 miles if he can see it, maybe, right? But no. So no, he would have suffered if he went a kilometer out.
Yep. And Jaku goes to him and is like, "We need to simplify this a little bit." And the guy responds, "Simplify? It's just a patrol. How complex can it get?"
Like, what are you saying, dude? Stop your whining.
It's like famous last words. I mean, we've all seen the war movies. We know how this can it can happen and escalate very quickly. Like you start with something simple and you think it's simple and you just dismiss it as that or and I don't mean like the plan being simple. I mean just the general concept of doing a patrol for them is simple. Like it to them it's routine. Maybe I should use the word routine to refer to it. But anyway, it's like yeah, it may be just a patrol, but no, so he sits there and like they talk back and forth and the officer's like trying to argue his point with Jocko and Jocko's like sitting there being firm with him like no, this is your first patrol as an officer, your first one here in this battle space. Let's keep it small, let's just focus on one little area.
Stay in our zone.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So he relented. The patrolling officer relented and was like, "Okay, fine, whatever, we'll do it." So the funny part is, I think actually, I don't think I know a small contingent of SEALs went with them as well. And as they're going through, I think it's like within a couple of minutes of uh, the patrol going out, the people back in the base hear gunfire,
You can say less than 3 minutes.
and it's very quick. And next thing you hear, or Jocko says that he hears, is on the radio is, "We need to get out of here." I think they call it case fac, which is, if I remember correctly.
So yeah, you had a couple of Iraqis shot up. They abandoned them. Their own troops abandoned their own guys. So the Marines got a hold of them and rescued them. Ended up being that the only casualties, and it was one of the Iraqis. The other one survived, but only he planned for 200 meters, and he didn't make 200 meters. Yeah, and his goal was around 2K. So it's an interesting story where had he not simplified, and if they had, I'm guessing maybe he got out and started to look like he's turning back, and that's when the enemies hit him because they were planning to see how far out they could get him before they could do that. I bet I mean if I'm a bad guy, I'd be like, if I was planning it, I would definitely wait for them to get as far out as possible. I would try to box in their equipment, and I would just have fun. Right, a new LT. If I and they believe me, they know who's in there. Right, they're not a rag at this point. They're not fighting idiots, so they probably know who's what and who's new. right? They recognize when new people are coming into base. You can't really hide when you're in these bases, right? You're sitting out there in the open, and the sure there's some walls, but uh, there's nothing secret. So the I think they probably knew they had some fresh meat to play with, and if he had gotten to a click out, that would have just been a, chew toys, yeah, bloodbath. So it might have been the opposite of of the casualties they had.
Yeah, and like the bloodbath would have resulted not just because of like the tactics that Phil was laying out, but also they would have been trying to change transmissions, they to like radio signals to talk to whoever is in charge of that battle space. They'd have to be trying to coordinate the Kazvac with everything with the new people.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't have had sniper overwatch. They wouldn't have, they might not even had the seal guys with them, right? They couldn't have carried enough ammo and water.
Yeah, because Jocko probably would have been like, "I'm not sending my troops with you because you're stupid."
Yeah, yeah, I'm not going to send them. You go take your guys in suicide. Um,
Uh,
I think what would have happened if the guy didn't relent is that Jocko would have just kicked him out of his area.
yeah, that's a good point.
I think he kind of was playing nice and was trying to, you know, not override him. But I think, like he did with the other guys, he would have just not supported him and kicked him out of the area.
Yeah, Jocko is pretty good, or seems to be pretty good about that stuff too. Like he knows when to draw the line and be like, "I'm done. We're not playing this anymore." Um, it's kind of nice. So overall, the whole principle and the whole concept behind all of this is simple. Like simplify, keep things easy to accomplish, and like
AKA boring.
please.
Okay, okay, I'll let you carry on how exciting simple is.
I love simplicity. Like it just it's one of those things where I really do think it is completely and utterly underrated how important simplicity is, and keeping things so small and just easy to I don't know what you call it, like to accomplish, to do things, to understand, like bringing things down to like such a small level, and being able to communicate your ideas, your talks, your whatever you want to other people is just highly underrated skill. I mean, I can tell you straight up, one of the worst some of the worst apps that I've ever worked on or built are when things get overly complicated and overly engineered. And when you get things that are like that super over engineered, it becomes very hard to track down bugs or add in new features, or it's just so frustrating at that point, and it ends up costing the client or your company money because you're not keeping things simple. And I mean that for like absolutely every aspect of business and life. Even just try to keep things simple. I mean, Phil, you have kids. If you want to tell your kids to do something, how do you do it?
Well, first of all, I tell them the opposite of what I want them to do.
Reverse psychology.
Yeah. So after that, I first confuse them by talking fast and over their head. And then when they finally pay attention to me and stop spinning, I give them very simple requirements.
There you go. There you go.
So I'm trying to raise a small group of narcissists.
How does that make them narcissists?
Oh, just by making it very simple, teaching them, spinning them up, and then toning them down. That's how you make them narcissists. First, you confuse their emotions, and then you control them.
You mean manipulators, manipulative kids.
Whatever, whatever. You teach them the ways of the world.
I mean, isn't that our next book?
Yes.
It's just overall, I can't tell you. So I can't tell you how frustrating it is when I walk into a team or I'm talking with somebody and like some sort of leader, and they're talking about this big lengthy process of doing things, and it's just overly complex. Like I'll put a great example from my personal experience is I was working on an app, and the app had code for four different products across four different platforms for a couple of different I wouldn't say clients, brands. There we go, brands. A couple of different brands, and the team had this really nice build system, this build process of getting everything together, and pumping out the app to send over to the QA team and to eventually end up in the Play Store and all that stuff. And all four platforms, everything stayed on the same version, and we very deliberately did that because we needed to know like we really needed to know, hey, this version is this, and it covers and it touches all of the other code. Well, what ended up happening is this idiot came in. I mean, he was so stupid. And he got placed as a leader and basically berated and browbeat the team into doing what he wanted. And he was like, I want everything to be completely and utterly separate. All four products ended up on uh separate, what do you call it, versions. And the build process, or the process for building one of the apps out, just became extremely complicated, and it was confusing for us. And we were constantly getting tickets back from QA about, hey, this is happening here, and you need to go fix the bug. And we'd go and we'd try to figure out. We'd spend like a couple of hours trying to figure out where the bug was and what build the bug was on, and we couldn't figure it out oftentimes. And it was kind of one of those situations where uh, we we'd be like, well, it looks fixed, or it's not happening here, what's going on? And then like we'd spend an hour or so spinning our wheels on that, and then we'd finally get a good discussion with somebody, and then we'd realize, oh, it's on this version. Then we'd go to that version, and then we would have to try and make sure that it ended up in all of the appropriate other versions. And then on top of that, what was even more hilarious is some new people came onto the team, and this idiot tasked them with, hey, go create builds. And they got confused with how to create the builds. They had no idea. So they had to try it like multiple times before they got it right.